that we are here this morning. Welcome members to our online service. Now that God has seen it fit that we reach you in this way, don't mind, we thank God for it. We hope that you'll be blessed by what you're going to share today. But before sharing the message of the day, I'd like my Mercy to take a chance and thank you for the cooperation you have shown toward the things you are doing in the church concerning the project and concerning our sister Mrs. Ojwang in the hospital. We are so grateful and so thankful to God that He has given you that desire to stand with those who are in need, at the same time stand with the church at a time as this. Mama, you can say something.
Bwana asifiwe. We are grateful to God for giving us this day. It is a gift from God. Nothing is usually automatic, even when we come to sharing of the word of Him. A very small thing within about our lives is by the grace of God. So we just want to start by thanking all the members of the church who have done wonderful thing during this time of coronavirus. The way you have participated in buying the house seat for the cathedral is as if the church is still running. We are so grateful to God. May God richly bless you. Those who have been planting the seed, or those who have been giving their contribution with a joyful heart before God, we believe that at the end of this activity, the blessings of God will be upon your lives. Because if we human beings see when people have done something good to us, how much more does our God see? We also want to say that we are so grateful for supporting our sister Mrs. Ojwang with your prayers and the money you have been giving to support the hospital bill. It has proved that we are family. May God bless you so much. Let's continue to stand with them and to pray for them, and even to close those doors which the enemy is bringing to us, just that we can be able to serve without a lot of issues. So may God bless you very much. We believe this sermon of today is also going to bless all of us, and not only the members of RNGC Makutano, but even the members in the diaspora. May God bless you.
Amen. Today I wanted to share on the message of working in the unseen world. The working in the unseen world. We are in a very dangerous situation today. The situation the world has never seen before. We have an enemy that we cannot see, an enemy that has defeated all the government of the world, the enemy that has put all of us indoors, the enemy that has not known whether they are big people or small people. They are fighting against him. But despite that, I only say the main sector or the side that has suffered most has been the Church of Jesus Christ. We have seen many sectors are opening up. We have seen many sectors running their businesses. But in the church somehow has been kind of oppressed when we see with our own eyes. But I want to tell you, brethren, the church is alive, the church is active, the church is not forgotten. There is work which is going on, although we don't see it with our own eyes. Today I want us to use the example of the story of Esther to illustrate how God is working on our behalf. Although we can't see it in the open, God is working And in the end, at the end of the day, the church will come out to be victorious. We are going to see at the end of the day, God and our plan, God and our purpose. There's nothing has gone wrong. God is still in his place and is standing with the church. All you need to do is have faith. Trust in God. Even if you don't see anything happening physically, don't lose your faith. Trust in God, because in the end, the church will be victorious. I want to look at several portions of scripture, starting with Esther chapter 2 from verse 21, and we shall read the whole that we shall go over the chapter 3 and chapter 4. Although you don't have to read all the portions, but we shall take several portions as we read it. Let me ask my master to read for us chapter 2 verse 21 to 23.
During the time Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate, Bavadi and Teresi, two of the king's officers who guarded the doorway, became angry and conspired to assassinate King Xerxes. But Mordecai found out about the plot and told Queen Esther, who in turn reported to the king, giving credit to Mordecai. And when the report was investigated and found to be true, the two officials were hanged on gallows. All this was reported in the book of the Annals, in the presence of the king.
Well, as we see Mordecai and Esther, we see them as a remnant of the children of Israel who are taken captivity in Babylon. And after King Cyrus and given the Jews permission to go back to their country, somehow some of them were left behind in Babylon. And we may tend to think that God may have forgotten those who are left behind, and God has gone with those who have gone back. But God does not forget his people. In this case, we find somebody like Mordecai was left in the king of Babylon, and he was a doorkeeper. As a doorkeeper, he remained faithful to his God and to his king, such that there was a plot to assassinate the king. There's a plot to assassinate the king, and he knew about it. You would think that me being a foreigner, you didn't mind what would happen to the king. But by the grace of God, Mordecai was obedient. Mordecai was sincere to his calling. He reported the matter to the king. And these guys who wanted to assassinate the king were found out, and they were hanged. They were given the punishment. And this thing was recorded in the books of the kings, but nothing was done for Mordecai. I don't know why. He was never rewarded for anything, but all the same, it went into the records that Mordecai and saved the life of the king. And then, after that, in chapter 3 opens with a very interesting story. We have King Ahasuerus wanting to promote one of his generals or his officials, and that official is Haman. If you read it from chapter 3 verse 2, it says, and all the king's servants who were within the king's gate bowed and paid homage to Haman, for so the king had commanded concerning him. But Mordecai would not bow or pay homage to him. Haman had been promoted in the kingdom, as he used to get in and out of the king's gate. All the people at the gate were bowing down to him, but Mordecai, for one reason or another, he didn't bow. Mordecai said he can't bow down to Haman because he was a Jew. It was a big test for Mordecai because he knew that he was putting his life in danger because he was in a foreign country, he was in the wrong place, and he was not doing what the rest of the people are doing. And as a result of that, Haman, let's read verse 5. When Haman saw that Mordecai did not bow or pay him homage, Haman was filled with wrath, but he disdained to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had told him of the people of the Mordecai. Instead, Haman sought to destroy all the Jews who were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, the people of Mordecai. In this particular case, we see Haman having been filled with pride. He has gotten promotion that he wanted, and he wanted more than the promotion. He wanted the people to worship him or to bow down to him when he is entering the king's gate and when he is getting out. But Mordecai, being a Jew, he was a faithful Jew who was not willing to bow down to any man. Even as the Bible says, pride comes before a fall. We find Haman being filled up with pride. Being filled up with pride is he felt that even punishing Mordecai alone is not enough. He would rather destroy the people that belong to Mordecai, all of them. Lakini little did he know that God had already made a provision to deliver Mordecai. As we come down here, we find Haman appearing before the king, enticing him with money, enticing him with doing something good for the kingdom. He tells him, which are not reading, but I try to paraphrase. He tells him that there are people in your kingdom who have different traditions from ours. They don't do what others do. Actually, let me read verse 8 and see. And then Haman said to King Ahasuerus, there are certain people scattered and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of your kingdom. But their laws are different from other people's, and they do not keep the king's laws. Therefore, it is not good fitting for the king to let them live. It is true the Jews who are different from other people. They belong they worship one God when others were worshipping multiple gods, and they stood with what they believed. And therefore, for Haman to convince the king that these people deserve to die, he tells the king, even if it pleases the king, let a decree be written that they be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver into the hands of those who do the work, and bring it to the king's treasuries. In other words, Haman thought he can induce the king to let him to give permission for these people to be killed. He even talks about giving 10,000 talents of silver into the king's stores. 10,000 talents of silver in terms of today's money was so much money. It's equivalent to 3.84 trillion Kenya shilling. 3.84 dollars. You can imagine that amount of money. The king was induced by the gain of money you didn't get, and therefore the king agrees to the plan of Haman. The king gives Haman the permission to have the letters written. The letters were written and sent out to all the people. But verse 12 we find it written. Then the king scribed our account on the 13th day of the first month, and decree was written according to all that Haman commanded, to the king's satraps, to the governors who were over each province, to the officials of the people, to every province according to its script, and to every people in their language. In the name of King Arcelius, it was written and sealed with the king's signet. In this case, we find that the deal had already been sealed up. For Mordecai, the deal had already been sealed up. For his people, the deal has already been sealed up. They are going to be destroyed. So letters were written and they were passed to all the provinces, that on a certain day all the Jews are going to be destroyed. But unfortunately, Haman is not aware of what he was not seeing. He was planning according to the human knowledge, but from Mordecai he knew, or somehow he knew, their God is there and they will seek the help. Then what happens? Let's see what's happening here. When the king's messengers came to all the places, the Jews started crying terribly. They saw themselves they found themselves in a corner. They knew there was no way of escape, and there was a certain day they were all supposed to be killed. The Jews lamented, and also Haman lamented also. He started lamenting, and as a result, Mordecai went and put on sackcloth, and he went out into the midst of the city. He cried out with a loud and bitter cry. Maybe when Haman heard Mordecai was crying and putting on sackcloth, he was rejoicing because he saw that his plan is working. But little they didn't know there was help for Mordecai. Mordecai, this man didn't know that Esther was a relative to Mordecai. And Esther sent out a message asking Mordecai what is ailing him. And Mordecai was telling Mordecai told the Esther, shared with the Esther what was happening, that his people are going to be killed and all that. But Esther said, what do I do? What can I do then? And according to the traditions of this land, there's nobody who appears before the king without being called. But Mordecai challenged Esther and told her, don't think you are safe and your father's house is safe because you're in the king's house. If you don't act, if you don't do something at this time, maybe help will come for the Jews from other side, but you and your father's house will perish. When Esther heard that, she was also touched. She identified with the fate of Mordecai. She identified with the rest of her people, and she sent to Mordecai. Excuse me, let me see something. Then Esther told them to return to answer to Mordecai. Go gather all the Jews who are present in Susan and fast for me. Neither eat nor drink for 3 days, night and day. My men and I will likewise fast, and I will go to the king, which is against the law. and if I perish, I perish. Then Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. In other words, Esther made a plan, to pray to God, to seek the help from God, to seek the help from the unseen God. And indeed, he said, you go and fast for 3 days and 3 nights. You and my house we shall fast. And the Jews were supposed to do the same, and they seek help from God, from the unknown God. After this fasting, Queen Esther decided to appear before the king. The tradition of that land is that nobody was to appear before the king unless he is called by the king. You appear before the king calls you, then the sentence is one. It's one in death. But when Queen Esther appeared, because of the effect of the prayers and the calling upon God, God was acting behind the scenes, behind what is not seen by people. Esther found favor before the king. The king gave her, the scepter. Then Esther went and touched the top of the scepter. The scepter, the throne which the king was using for ruling. That indicated that somebody has found favor with him. And when Queen Esther found favor with the king, then she had an opportunity to share with the king what she wanted. And she said, I want you to do something for me. I want you and Haman to come to the party that I prepare for you. When Haman heard that he's going to the queen's party, he was very, very excited. He felt honored that he has not only been promoted, but he has been honored even to go to the queen's party alone. Then Queen Esther prepared the party. When they came to the party, they were drinking and eating and whatever else they were doing. Then Mordecai, the king asked Queen Esther, what is your request? Queen Esther told the king, if I found favor with you, let you and Haman come here tomorrow again for another party. Okay, they left that night. But Haman didn't know that he was digging his own grave. Haman thought he had found great favor, and he, being filled with the pride, he went to his house that morning, and he went and gathered his wife and his friends and shared with them how he has been honored by the queen and the king. He has been invited in the party. But the unfortunate thing for Haman is this: pride and filled his heart so much that he was indignant seeing Mordecai still sitting at the gate. Then he was telling them, I don't see and I'm not feeling the honor that I should be feeling when every time I see Mordecai sitting at the gate. And his friends told him, if that is the case, let Ngaros set Ngaros in your house. Let Ngaros be set up to hang that Mordecai. Ngaros are those things for hanging people. And Haman agreed to this. He arranged for a place where Haman was going to be hung. And after the Ngaros were set, he went back to the king's party. When he went, but then what Haman didn't know that is that there's a God who is working behind the scene. when the king went to sleep after the previous dinner by the queen, he did not get sleep. He could not get sleep. He asked for the books to be brought to him, to be lent to him. And as the records were being read, it was learned of what Mordecai did to save his life. And the king asked, was anything done for him? He was told there is nothing. Then the king decided to do something to honor Mordecai, to thank him for saving his life. And the most interesting thing is this. If I may read the Esther chapter 6, verse, let's read chapter 6 coming down. That night king could not sleep, so one was commanded to bring the book of the records of the Chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai and Ton of Bighatha and Teresi, two of the king's eunuchs, and the doorkeepers who had sought to lay hands on the king Ahasuerus. Then the king said, what honor or dignity has been bestowed on Mordecai for this? And the king's servants who attended him said, nothing has been done for it. And the king said, the thing I want us to see the coincidence of how things happen. We may call them coincidence, we call them chances, but guys, I want to see how God arranges things to bring down those whom we want to bring down, and to spare those whom we want to spare. At that very moment, Haman was coming to the king Paris, and the king said, who is in the court? Now Haman had just entered the court, entered the outer court of the king's palace, so to suggest that King hung Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him. The Mordecai was coming into the king's palace to ask for the hanging of Mordecai. That is the bit I want you to see clearly. King Haman, this man called Haman, is coming to the king to ask for Mordecai to be hanged on the gallows. But incidentally, at that particular time is when the king himself had decided that Mordecai should be honored. It's a kind of the battles which were going on behind the scenes. Mordecai was not seeing it, the king was not seeing it, Haman was not seeing it, but things were happening in their minds and they are taking action. Even if they asked for the cause of the influence of this action, they may not know, but God himself was behind the whole thing. Haman is coming in at the right time, and the king himself is giving the command at the same time. At that particular moment, now Haman had just entered the outer court of the king's palace to suggest that the king hung Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him. The king's servant said to him, Haman is here, standing in the court. And the king said, let him come in. The funny thing is that before Haman could give what he wanted, before he could make his request to the king spoke first. He said, what shall be done for the man whom the king delights to honor? What should be done to the man whom the king chooses to honor? For Mordecai, for Haman, he could not think of anybody else that could be honored by the king except him. So he chose the best noble princes that he may array them on whom the king delights to honor. Then apparent he ap- then parent him on the horseback through the city square, and he proclaimed before him, thus shall it be done to the man whom the king and the right honor, shall be done to the man whom the king right honor. You can see the irony of the whole thing. Haman understood what should be done to the king, to the man the king is sent to honor, and immediately after that, he was choosing what should be done to him. He was choosing what should be done to him. When after he had chosen what should be done to the man, then he because he thought he's the one who is going to be paraded on the king's horse, and he's the one going to be put on the robe of the king. He's the one going to be taken through the city square with a prince saying that this is the man whom the king chooses to honor. He thought he would be the one, but then little they didn't know the tables are turned overnight. The tables are turned over ups and down, because God was behind the whole thing. He was told, go and take Mordecai. Take Mordecai, do exactly what you have said about him. You can imagine what a shame, what an embarrassment, and what I'm beating it was to Haman when he says the man is coming to hang is the man who is being exalted. And this is what I wanted us to learn, that despite the fact that you have seen we are kind of hidden, we are not getting the favor we like to get from people. Even if we might be complaining that the church is the one who is not being honored, when the other places are being opened for people to gather, political parties are meeting all over, markets are opening, businesses are opening, but the church is still closed. We may tend to think that God has forgotten us, but brethren, let me tell you, God has not forgotten us. There are battles which are taking place in the air, and when God shall come to us, we shall get the glory that we deserve. I thank God because God does not forget his people. He comes in a manner that people will be convinced that it was God who was in charge. Let that thing go, let that thing continuing, but at the end of the day, when God shall come, people will honor us. We are the Mordecais of the day. Haman of the day is also there, but God is going to turn tables on Haman, and is going to show Mordecai great favor in the end of the day. And also I want us to finish with that's still a bit, because after Haman was humbled by parading Mordecai in the street, it is said in verse 10 of chapter 6, after Haman had done that, he left Mordecai to go his way, and Haman went to his house, very humiliated, very bitter, almost mourning, and he went to his wife and his friends and he told them what had happened. Then the funny thing is, his wife herself told Haman, if Mordecai has got unused indecent, if his people are visitors, and you have started falling before him, you won't survive him. And that was enough. And as if that was not enough, within a short time before Haman could even think of it, verse 14 says, while they were still talking with him, the king sooner came and hastened to bring Haman to the banquet which the queen had prepared. I want you to see the event as they are following one another. There was no room for Haman to go back or to change anything. Somehow, one event was following the other one event was following the other, with no interval for Haman to think otherwise or to do otherwise. It is saying that they went to the dinner that night, like the other time, and during the dinner, the king asked Queen Esther, what can I do for you? At that time is when Queen Esther turned up herself and they said, I want my life to be saved. I'm requesting that you save my life. The king was furious, asking, who is that who wanted to take the queen's life? The Queen Esther decided to say, this Haman, this evil Haman with you here, is the one who decided to take my life. Of course, we can now try to imagine. You can imagine the scenario when the king and the queen and Haman, they are sitting together, and Haman is the enemy of the king's wife. The king, we are told, the king rose up. I think that one is going to read verse 5, from verse 5 of chapter 7. Then King Osiris answered and said to the queen, who is he, and why is he who dare presume in his heart to do such a thing? And Esther said, the adversary, the enemy of this is this wicked Haman. So Haman was terrified before the king and the queen. Then the king arose in his wrath from his bucket of wine, and went into the palace garden. But Haman stood before Esther, pleading for his life, for he saw that evil was determined against him by the king. I wanted you to see this. This was the climax of the whole scenario. The king becomes furious as a way of, I don't know whether he wanted to vent his anger or whatever. He walked outside from the dining room to the garden. Being very furious, he could not even look at Haman. He goes out. But then, when he goes out, Haman saw that things have gone are not on his side. He realizes the wrath of the king is quite bitter. So he started to ask Queen Esther to pardon him, to forgive him for what he has done. He kind of Queen Esther to intervene to prevent what the king was ready to do. And what Haman did is that he decided to kneel down before the queen on the sofa set or the seat where they were inclining before as they were eating. But as he did that, the king comes back. When the kings come back, he was even more furious because of the way he interpreted the action of Haman. I want her to see that many times when things are against us, our very actions, we do them with good intentions, but they may be turned to turn against us. Verse 8 says, when the king returned from the palace garden to the place of the banquet of the wine, Haman and fallen across the court where Esther was. Then the king said, will will he also assault the queen while I am in the house? As the wand left the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. Can you imagine? The king was assuming that Haman wanted to assault Esther, and yet Haman was begging for mercy. At that climax of things, you can be sure there was nothing else left for Haman. There was no way out. There was no solution. And it is at that particular point when somebody, in verse 9, somebody called Abona, one of the eunuchs, said to the king, "Look, the gallows 50 cubic high, which Haman made for Mordecai, who spoke on the king's behalf, is standing at the house of Haman." Then the king said, "Hang him on it." In other words, Haman died on the gallows he had erected himself. No wonder the Bible says that don't dig a pit for your friend because you will fall on it yourself. Again, the Bible says, pride comes before a fall. The pride of King Haman made him fall before Esther, the people he wanted to destroy. And brethren, I want to urge you, let us not give up at all on anything as far as the church is concerned. You might not see God very active in things currently as they are going, but finally we shall be victorious. We shall be, when God comes, when God rises up, you shall see the victory that we are going to get from the Lord. I'll ask my master to read for us Micah chapter 7, verse 8 to 10. We shall hear what the prophet is saying concerning the people who might not be recognizing what God is doing in the darkness, behind the scene. We shall hear that there's a God acting on our behalf behind the scene. Let her read that.
Micah chapter
7 verse 8, yeah.
Do not gloat over me, my enemy. Though I am foreign, I will rise. Though I sit in darkness, the Lord will be my light. Because I have sinned against him, I will bear the Lord's wrath until he brings my case and establishes my right. He will bring me out into the light. I will see his righteousness. Then my enemies will see it and will be covered with shame. She who said to me, "Where is your God?" My eyes will see her downfall. Even now she will be trampled under feet, like a mire in the streets.
You can hear what the Bible tells us. Rejoice not over me, my enemy. When I fall down, I rise. God has promised that even when we appear like we are down, we are not even down. The Lord is on our side. And in any case, it is good even to be found to be down with the Lord on our side than to be on top of the matter without God. One as your son. It's good for us to be down where God is with us, instead of being on the top of the matter when God is against us. Because when the time of our fall comes, we fall down and we perish. For Haman, he died and got forgotten. For Mordecai, he rose up and he continued his life. We continue reading the history, you find that it came to a point where the Israelites had to stand and defend themselves, and they had the victory. They had the last word of the day. In the end, God will fight for us. Don't give up, don't give up, don't give up. Let the enemies rejoice over us, but then God is coming to our rescue. In the name of the Lord, we thank God for that. Amen. Amen.
mkuu, Wayahudi wakiendelea na mane kwa kusikia sauti ya Malkia.